the train came to a stop. A short story by PatrickRGM on Reddit. I looked around at my fellow passengers, knowing most of them had firearms on them. I had to make this quick. Something about the sheriff's badge seemed to instill calm, however. I nodded to each as I rose, tipped my hat to the mother cradling her newborn. Having the priest there felt somewhat symbolic too. He didn't look at me, but I felt his silent judgment. Outside the carriage, the sun had begun to drench the landscape in a thick amber hue. It was a small railroad we were passing along, no towns for a good few miles in either direction. I walked on. I looked up into the driver's cabin. As the driver, who was staring straight ahead, I followed his gaze and the gun that was now out of my jacket. On the tracks was a man, seemingly underdressed, loose overshirt browned by years of dust and travel. His pants were ripped, the fool, and one of his shoes was missing, a drunk. "I ain't gonna tell you this more than once," I called out, finding security in my firearm and position. No movement, no response. I cocked the gun. "There are civilized people on this here train, and I consider myself to be among them. However, you, sir, have interrupted their transit, and I don't—" The stranger looked up, and I stopped in my tracks. His skin was bloodshot and hung loose as his shirt about his face. His jaw, too, seemed ill-fitting and swung absently, revealing an empty mouth beside a few blackened teeth. His nose was entirely missing. I'd seen a corpse before, in my days as apprentice to the undertaker. I'd also made a couple. I'm asking you politely to get off the tracks." The creature gave a guttural wheeze, and its eyes found me before it. It lurched, seemingly only barely in control of its motor function. I raised the gun. I stared at it over the barrel, met its undead gaze. Its eyes, they seemed almost human. They were brown and big and alive and in pain. I lowered the gun. The creature, no. The man took another step forward. "Where did you come from?" I could now only muster a low whisper. It paused, actively registering my words, processing its response. The shot went off. In an instant, the man's innards painted the tracks, a hideous brown that festered in the blood red of the setting sun. It twitched, its upper torso completely dismembered before falling still. I turned, gun raised at whomever fired the shot. My revolver was met with a shotgun, and my eyes met with the priest. None of us moved. I think it was still human. "The devil plays tricks on us all, Sheriff. Mercy is a weakness. We're not going to get through this if we exhibit it." I looked back at what was left of the body before boarding the train once more.